everyone! Welcome back. In the last episode, I promised that we were going to finally be finishing our tower. And you know what? That's exactly what we're gonna do. So first things first, material gathering. So I decided to do some of this on camera for once. Usually I do a lot of my material gathering off camera because I save recordings for when I'm with my friends, and then in my downtime I'll just open Minecraft up for a couple of hours and resource gather so that I don't have to do it later. Moving on to the building. The first thing I did was put in the floors. For the entire tower, I just do a really simple pattern of regular bamboo slabs and the bamboo mosaic slabs. With that done, it was time to start putting in some blocks for my general layout. Of course, sticking to my palette of white, red, and black, alternating between bone blocks and mushroom stems for some texture. Then I decided to use some mangrove stairs as supports for the balcony that I would be building. The tower in my reference image had balconies on every floor, so I did my best to recreate that in my build. For the border of this balcony, I decided to use bone block and mushroom stem because all of the other floors used mangrove. Then I did some detailing with some acacia trap doors along the bottom. Then, using some mangrove stairs, I made this fun shape to prop up the railing for my balcony. I decided the main accents should be red and the smaller details would be orange or copper. I then moved the lanterns so they would be hanging from the bottom of the balcony. For the railing, I used a simple pattern of planks, slabs, and stairs. It was very important to me that every floor of my tower be a launching point, potentially for anyone with an elytra or feather falling boots. So every railing is accessible and you can jump off of all of them. With the railing all situated, it was time to work on the actual building. Again, the block palette for each floor is very similar. It's really the little details that make them each different. Height, for example. Each floor from bottom to top gets a little bit shorter each time. That was on purpose based again on my reference photo. I also varied the actual patterns themselves. I used mangrove planks here for the first time in the actual main build. It's a small texture change that you honestly mostly see from the inside, but to me it makes a big difference. I did opt to take them out of these middle sections though, to make it better match the front and back portion. As you can see, now the same pattern is replicated all throughout. The third floor of this tower is also unique because it's the only one that I decided not to have an entrance out to the balcony for. We as players can access it, but there's no actual door. That's pretty different from my reference photo, and it's a decision I made to make the build more interesting and fun to me, and hopefully to players. At this point, we upgraded our server to 1.21, which meant I had access to copper. Oh my goodness, it looks crazy. Needless to say, I was very, very excited to be using it for this project. I tried a few different designs out, not always liking what I came up with. The main thing I tried to keep in mind when I'm doing detailing like this are guiding lines and how I feel about the shape of what I'm building. What I mean by that is the reason I changed the copper grate for the stairs is because I like the shape of the stairs. I feel like it leads your eye to the little copper window I made. With the end rods, it was the same thing. When they're vertical, it's like your eye stops right there, but once they're horizontal, it's like they're pointing towards the window, which means it's just one more detail that draws your eye that way. If you struggle with detailing in Minecraft, it could be really helpful to think of it that way. What is your focal point? Where do you want people to look? Once you decide on that point, do everything you can to make it as interesting as possible. And any additional things you add, make sure it enhances your focal point. It doesn't distract from it. Obviously, you don't have to go with that, and that's not going to be true all the time, but it can be a really helpful place to start. Using this method and a very similar design, I got to work detailing the sides of the third floor. This was a lot of fun for me because the mangrove stairs and the red terracotta kind of make like faux pillars to me. I also got to use the copper grates, which I think might be one of my new favorite blocks. And for these windows, I used the copper trap doors. I thought it looked great as it was, but I did have another idea for a different kind of window I thought would be really cool. So using more mangrove wood and some bone blocks, I built up a design for windows that would be open, not covered by blocks or trapdoors. Again, it was just one more detail to make it different than the other floors, and I think it also fit the vibe of this floor really well. Especially because there's no doors on this floor, I feel like this makes it more breathable, like there's more airflow. And with that, it was time to build up my staircase and get to work on the roof because this floor was done. At this point, I decided it was a good time to take a step back and take a look at the progress I'd made so far. But look at this real quick.
Whoa!
It's looking pretty good, huh?
Dude.
I was feeling really proud of myself and really happy with how things were going, which was a good sign to keep it moving. Especially because this was the fourth and final floor. This time I decided to switch things up by incorporating polished deep slate right into the walls. I also played around a bit with making some copper grate windows. I really liked the design, but then I thought the windows are a really good opportunity for hidden or natural looking lighting. So I decided to keep the copper grates on the front windows and switch the back windows out for copper bulbs instead. I also got the fun idea to use copper doors as window screens, which I was really happy with. Honestly, all of the copper blocks were so perfect for the rest of this build that I don't think I could have finished it before 1.21. Now, to finish filling up these walls. Like I mentioned earlier, one of the unique things about this floor is that I was using a lot of polished deep slate. I used this design to make another faux window, much smaller than I did on the floor below. And then it was time to work on the railing. Now for this design to be a little bit different, I used actual mangrove fences. But true to my word, you can still very much jump off of this floor. And just like that, it's time to detail again. Can you guess what my focal point is? This is like copying your friend's test, but changing a few words in the answer so that it's a little less obvious. But you know what? It makes a build look cohesive, and it works. So if it ain't broke, I'm not fixing it. I did switch up the design a little bit for the sides. Using several copper variants and a few end rods, I made this nice X shape. It doesn't look like my reference, but it does look pretty cool, so I'm really happy with it. Oh, I had also added these iron trap doors in the front and the back. And with that, the fourth floor was done. I put in my bamboo slabs, got my materials for my roof, and got to work. Now for this part, I was not using my reference at all, because I had a very different idea for what I would be using the roof of my tower for, and that required a dome-shaped ceiling. So I mapped it out using my polished deep slate and my deep slate tiles, and once I liked the general shape, I smoothed the edges out using stairs. Next, it was time to move on to the floor. For the outline of this section, I used a mix of obsidian and crying obsidian. Now, based on the dome shape and my block palette, can you guess what I'm going to be using this roof for? Maybe if I told you I threw in some amethyst blocks for a magical, whimsical feeling, that would help. Leave your guess in the comments below to see if you were right before I finish. Anyway, speaking of magical and whimsical, I of course had to include some amethyst clusters. What do you think?
Dude, I don't even know where you are. It's so beautiful. What the heck?
This is the top of the tower.
You made your own world, dude. You made your own game.
With that very sweet pep talk, I was ready to finish this thing. I added some of the red weeping nether vines to break up all of the purple and bring the red back into the top of the tower. And with that pop of color, it was time to place the egg. Except, I kind of want moving particles in here.
What?
But a spore blossom doesn't feel right. I decided to go with the cherry leaves for their nice falling petals animation and because they're just on theme for this area. After fussing around with a few more extra little details, I was finally happy with how it looked, which meant it was time to close it up. I wasn't gonna just leave our dragon egg open to the elements. Look at this rain. It's always raining on this server. So I used black and purple stained glass to make some walls. And with a bright, pointy tip, the top of our tower was done. All that was left was the little details in the roof. So I got to work putting in the shingles, following that same sloping pattern that comes up with stairs at the end. And this is what we came out with. If you can ignore my shulker box, crafting table, and stonecutter, I think it looks pretty good. But let's get down from the mountain and take a look from the front, shall we? Okay guys, so we are pretty much done with the tower. I did a fair amount of detailing off camera. Sorry, but it was just the easiest way for me to really get into a bit of a flow state so I could just be creative. This is the doorway. So you can see that's the second story. I have changed it a little bit. We're gonna do a whole walkthrough, but I thought before I did that and showed you what the finished inside of the tower looks like, I would take you through the process of putting this together, since I clearly have already done it on one side. I'll take you through the process of replicating it on the other side to make up for doing all of this without you. Okay, so we already have the deep slate tiles and polished deep slate stairs. It's all set up right here. So let's start with the shroom lights in the center here. And it's just an easy half cross shape right there. Okay, I went and got some of my leftover building supplies to use to frame this shape. We're gonna go with stair, stair, slab. Stair, stair, slab. Then another stair to make that shape. Kind of connect it. See? Some stairs on the edges here. And then just connect them up. Perfect. Next, we're gonna put in some of these copper trapdoors. And I'm just gonna make a ton, because I love them. I'll use them eventually. I really like the new recipe for the copper trapdoors. I like that you can pre-wax them. I think it's really, really sick. The only thing is when you want them oxidized. Then it's a little bit of trouble. But overall, I really, really like it. Okay. So let's do this other side. Beautiful. And hey. There we go. Ta-da! Okay, next we're gonna craft a couple of lightning rods for that almost clock tower-esque shape. And this is actually, the design for this is actually not that random. I pretty specifically chose polished deep slate walls into polished deep slate stairs with one deep slate tile slab to connect it. This. Because if we want the lightning rod to face up like that, upwards like that, it needs something to connect to. Boop. There we go. Now we will want to craft some acacia trapdoors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. White banners. Now for these banner patterns, what I was going for was the illusion of some fancy screen windows. It's a really simple pattern, but it worked really well. I'm definitely really happy with it. And now the pattern is very simply acacia trapdoor border, banner, fill. I think the acacia trapdoor pattern helps make this feel like more like screens. Or at least like grates, I hope. Perfect. And now it's just filling this up with pots. Start with lanterns on the side, because we care about spawn proofing things or mob proofing things. Definitely don't want a little jump scare. And then we do our plant pots. The idea with this was not just because plants are a cute decoration, but also I was inspired by like mini bonsai shelves, especially like the bonsai shelf furniture that you can get in Animal Crossing. Let's just do some cherry, mangrove, make it a little different. And it's also kind of indicative of the woods we have up in the tower. But I'll show you that in a second. There we go. That's this side finished. For this back wall, I'm waiting for a little bit of inspiration. I think maybe I want to do something related to the dragon egg or the dragon somehow. Maybe I'll make use of the dragon head that I have, or even go on a little adventure to find some more dragon heads? I don't know. We'll see. But for now, this is the one thing that's left blank, but we're okay with that. Okay, with that being said, it must be time for the tour. So this is the first floor, my moss farm, of course. I've added a few new things like extra barrels for storage, and I've tried to get very far ahead of keeping a good stock of bone meal. This is a little AFK room that I made just to be extra safe. And then when we head upstairs, we've seen this before, but I gave it a little extra storage and a little extra decor, as you can see. Some of the new paintings, some of the old ones. I have a whole system for storing wood. Oop. Overall, this tower is kind of like a big AFK farm and like massive storage system for us, which I'm happy about. Something pretty central. It gives my friends, my husband, my brother-in-law, just everybody who plays on the server, it gives them a nice central location that they can come to for any supplies that they need. And just in case you haven't seen the process, the earlier videos, this is where I have a small sugarcane farm and a small bamboo farm. Ooh, which is actually full. I have cats all along this floor because I had a disaster with some creepers once that I sadly did not catch on camera. But it was bad. It was not as bad as it could have been, but it did blow up like half of the floor, so not great. So these guys are here to hopefully make sure that never happens again. But, you know, now that there's not a big hole in the roof, it's probably not gonna be a big deal anyway. Moving on to the third floor, I made a even bigger sugarcane farm because now that we all have elytras, I want to make sure that we're never running out of rockets. Also, since the new update is here, I want maps. So these are perfect to trade with cartographers. I've got a pretty decent supply. But I also styled it to sort of feel like a shrine. I don't know why it would be a shrine to sugarcane, but I think it works. I like it, at least. And finally, this top floor is a big old storage room. Got rockets here, and like I said, I'm trying to keep them pretty full so that me and my friends never have to worry about it. And then we've got all kinds of blocks. I haven't changed the colors or made any of these signs glow yet because I'm just not committed to them all being the blocks that they say they are right now. This one is empty because I haven't decided yet for sure what I want to do. But all in all, this general idea of this area, this top floor being like a storage room, is gonna stick around because I want everyone on the server to be able to just know they can get basic supplies from this location if they want to. Or if they've got too much junk and they need a place to drop it off, they can feel free to leave it here. This project took me a pretty long time, but I'm glad that I took things slow with it because I'm really, really happy with the result. What do you think of the tower? You can let me know in the comments below. Thank you for sticking around until it was finished. These next few episodes are probably going to be solo building or solo adventures, so look forward to that. I've got a lot of work to do around here, so until next time. Oh, that's a spoiler. Bye! Okay, everyone, so remember how I said I'd had an accident once with a creeper? Well, I was literally just editing this video and was AFK downstairs in my little AFK room. And I log back on just to check how things are going. And I just see this. Look at my cat. My cat that was supposed to protect up here is it's fallen through this hole. I don't even know how this would happen.